towards the end of my time in New York where I made the conscious effort of finding more women who I could work with. And I was able to meet a few photographers who I assisted towards my end there, who were all women. And it was just such a beautiful process working with them and being on set where I was respected. And it was kind of an awakening, an eye-opening experience that, okay, so not the whole photo industry is male dominated and there is a place for me here. It's just about finding my people, finding my place, and kind of not taking shit from people.
Yeah.
That is one of the biggest things I think I've learned over the years is I am valid and I belong here. And, I have to be in charge of my own fate.
Scene is not just a podcast. It is a movement dedicated to amplifying the voices, experiences, and stories of women shaping the film and photography industries. We're going to dive deep into the soul work that these women undertake every day to pursue their dreams, passions, and to breathe life into their creativity. And all while fostering and nurturing a thriving community among women in our field. I'm Nalani Hernandez Melo, a creative photographer, director, and curator based in Los Angeles, and I am deeply honored to share this space with you as your host and creator of Scene, where women behind the lens take center stage. Today, I am so excited and honored to welcome Rebecca Grant to our show. Thank you, Rebecca, for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you.
It's exciting to just be sitting here on set again.
I know.
We've been on many sets together.
Yep, you're my partner in crime.
Yes, we've been through a lot.
Yes, that is true.
So to welcome you and to bring you into the space, I always like to share your bio and read it out loud and make the butterflies flutter. Rebecca Grant is a Los Angeles-based commercial beauty photographer and director whose journey began in Brooklyn, New York. Rebecca's work is celebrated for its crisp, clean aesthetic and a profound focus on the female gaze, femininity, and body inclusivity. Her ability to create a collaborative, uplifting, and energetic environment on set has made her a sought-after talent in the industry, and I can, say yes to that. Rebecca's impressive portfolio includes collaborations with iconic clients like Gwen Stefani's Give Beauty, Urban Decay, and Foot Locker. Her work has graced the pages of renowned publications such as Gotham, Ocean Drive, Du Jour, and LA Confidential. Rebecca's talent and dedication have earned her numerous accolades, including a feature in the APA's Soho Gallery and being a 2023 APA Off the Clock winner. Her work continues to set a high standard in the industry, reflecting her passion for capturing beauty through a lens that empowers and uplifts. I am honored to have you here to share your insights, your experiences, and the reason I really wanted to have you here is that you have always provided a safe space for me to exist, to share, and to show up as who I am, specifically as a mother, too. There have been moments where things have come up with my family, and I felt held to tell you, and you made me feel so respected and appreciated on set as your assist. And I also want to thank you for putting me in spaces I never thought I would be in. And when we got to shoot Gwen Stefani, that was amazing. And the Foot Locker jobs were incredible as well. You gave me the New York photo, crash course internship experience, because you work on such a caliber that it's just such a privilege to train under you, to learn from you.
You're going to make me cry already. We haven't even started this
Cry!
yet. First of all, I'm going to have you rewrite my bio because that was beautiful.
It's rewritten.
Thank you so much. I could not have had a better person standing next to me on these shoots because of the trust that we have built with each other and how beautiful and powerful you are inside and out, and you bring that to set. And one of the most important things for me is to surround myself with people who uplift each other, not just me, but uplift everyone on set, because that's the only way to have a set that is a happy place for people and one that where we can be creative without having doubts, without feeling like we're trapped or feeling like we can't express ourselves. And
Absolutely.
so I think the most important thing is creating a set that gives you your best, puts you in a best position for creating something amazing.
Absolutely. And I can definitely echo that back to you that you've done an exceptional job of that, and also creating a place that everybody can learn from each other,
Yeah.
and ideas are valued, but also you know how to contain your role and your creative vision, and articulating what you want, but without making it feel like, hey, you're not important. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But I do wanna explore with you. You were one of the first photographers that I assisted that was very intentional about having an all-female set, if possible.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about what sparked that intentionality?
Yeah. It's funny. I don't think I had this realization until more recently, maybe earlier this year, end of last year, but I I walked into my LA life and I was like, I just want to be surrounded by powerful women.
Mm.
First of all, that was important to me because I feel like we empower each other so much in every situation, especially ones where we don't feel like we have that power.
Yeah.
But I don't think I realized this until later that I think subconsciously I gravitated towards all women and kind of thought having men on my set was because when lived in New York City, which was for the 6 years after I graduated college, I went back home and lived in Brooklyn, and I was kind of tortured by some of the men I worked with
Mm.
on set, assisting, retouching, whatever job I held at that point.
Yeah.
Um, I had been poked and prodded, bullied. I had been cursed at. I have been rejected and treated like no one should treat another person. And I'm not
Absolutely.
saying that this is like all men are the problem. Like that is not the issue here. I think there were New Yorkers are different. I'm a New Yorker.
Yeah.
I've like to think I've shed that like hard exterior a little bit
Yeah.
moving out here. But, I don't think at that point in my life I was handling it very well.
Mm-hmm.
And it might have also been a mix of dealing with depression,
Yeah.
having some really deep mental health issues that I was dealing with that could have either caused my inability to function well on these photo shoots where I was being abused, or where these situations I was having might have been causing my depression even greater.
Well, I just want to pause there for a second and
Yeah.
say, like, to anybody listening or here, like, when you recognize you're being abused,
Yeah.
there to have grace and to not expect that we need to learn how to take abuse better.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's definitely uncalled for.
No, yeah, totally.
But I think also something that I experienced and something I saw was, or that it's almost known, not really spoken about, or it's starting to come out when you see it in fraternities and like culture in colleges of like the haze culture,
Yeah.
hazing culture. And I think there's a big component to that, to production and how men treat each other.
Oh, totally.
And then when our industry started including more women, I don't think the culture or traditions ever changed.
And let me tell you,
Yeah.
in New York, I mean, everywhere this industry is male dominated, but in New York, it was male dominated.
Mhm.
Like I was usually one of the few women there.
Yeah.
I worked at, I had a stint at Milk Studios in Manhattan, and I was the only female working in the equipment room.
Mm.
Like, there were multiple situations where I was the only woman.
Yeah.
And it can somewhat get uncomfortable when,
Absolutely.
everyone treats you like you're part of the like bro culture. And like, I
Mhm.
just wasn't there for that. And I was also, I was right out of college. It was the first 6 years out of school. And I was trying to figure out where I belonged, what I wanted to do. I don't feel like anyone there kind of helped in the process of getting me here,
Yeah.
like mentally or, in the kind of feminine way we do of like,
Yeah.
here, let's do this together. Let's work on this. Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
Let's collaborate, communicate.
Mhm.
I think it was towards the end of my time in New York where I made the conscious effort of finding more women who I could work with. And I was able to meet a few photographers who I assisted towards my end there,
Yeah.
who were all women. And it was just such a beautiful process working with them and
Yeah.
being on set where I was respected. And it was kind of awakening, an
Yeah.
eye-opening experience that, oh, okay, so like not the whole photo industry is male dominated and there is a place for me here. It's just about finding my people, finding my place, and kind of
Mhm.
like not taking shit from people.
Yeah.
Like that is one of the biggest things I think I've learned over the years is I am valid and I belong here. And, I have to I have to be in charge of my own fate. I have
Mhm.
to put myself in positions that will set me up for success. And a lot of the positions I was kind of put in New York as a up and coming photo assistant trying to make it and learning from people and
Yeah.
being brand new when no one wants to give you a chance and they give
Yeah.
you a chance, you kind of just have to like bow and thank them and like, you know,
Pay your
pay your
dues. Pay
dues.
your
Thank you.
dues.
No one
Yeah.
wants to hire you until you have experience. Well,
Yeah.
how are you supposed to get experience if no one wants to hire you? Like, there was the everlasting problem I dealt with there. And so, when I left New York, I did that for a few reasons. Some mostly was my mental health.
Okay.
I had grown up there my whole life and needed a
Yeah.
change. And I think I was also kind of pushing away that big New York photo world that with all of the old middle-aged white men who were like large and in charge and they were
Yeah.
the ones running the industry.
Mhm.
Um, and so yeah,
So
women.
you left for sunny
I left
California.
well, I went to Denver first and
Right.
then I came to California and they were, I think, experiences that have helped uplift me,
Mhm.
but I realized that it was within my own power to control my fate.
That's powerful in itself.
And hence
Yeah.
your question, we'll go
Yeah.
right back here is I think I subconsciously only ever wanted women on set
Mhm.
um, because of how we treat each other, how respectful we are with each other. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying there aren't women out there who
Of course not, you know.
break that mold.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's an individual. We're
Yeah.
all unique in our own ways. But it was very important for me to find the people who would benefit me and help me and grow with me
Yeah.
and appreciate me for who I am, just like I would do for them.
I mean, to me, this sounds, as I mentioned, a part of my spirituality and part of the awareness of growing. And the more you mature in your body and yourself and
Yeah.
your mindset, is you realize the power, how much power you have
Yeah.
to choose literally what space you're
Yeah.
in. And there is a point, there is a part of it as control. You're controlling, but it's a very intentional sense of I will control who will have access to me
Yep.
and who I will
Give
be
your energy
around.
to.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's also a plus about being in the role as the lead photographer or director. Like you get to build your team, right? The areas that sometimes we don't get to pick is the client because
Sure.
they're kind of like the wild card. We don't know how they will be.
Yeah.
But I do want to give you acknowledge that one thing I have learned from you in my time working with you and hearing about your pitches and your bids and stuff is that you are very confident and comfortable articulating to a client like what you're asking for and the budget it's non-realistic or that you really advocate and sometimes it may not be successful but you stand your ground in a way of like
This is what it
this
takes.
is what it takes
Well, it's so nice of you to say that because yesterday I totally fumbled over myself in trying to present a pitch and a bid. It's not an easy process having that confidence.
Yeah.
That's an interesting word for me because
Say more here.
yeah, I feel like I have some confidence in myself. I think it's something that we as humans struggle with sometimes. And I
Absolutely.
find that specifically women struggle with it more
Yeah.
in having that confidence in themselves, believing that they can make it happen or kind of, I hate saying this, but faking it till you make it. It's like,
Yeah.
there are a lot of people who walk around, they're like, oh, I'm the best. I got this, no
Yeah.
problem. And I'm like, sometimes I wish I could walk around like that.
But sometimes I've noticed that, at least for women, like when you do walk around like I'm the best, you
Yeah.
get pinned as like
Yeah, you're
cocky.
like, oh,
Yeah,
she's
that's too
so cocky.
much.
We
So
can't
it's
have
like,
her on
where
set.
do you want us? Do you want me to be confident, or do you want me to be
sure.
submissive, or do you want me to be
For sure.
humble?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, this is something, and it's funny we're having this conversation today because yesterday I had a rough day with having that, I guess, imposter syndrome, which is another term we throw around, where lately I've had a lot of situations where I've bid on jobs a
Yeah.
reasonable fee for both me and my crew,
Yeah.
what people should be making. Let's be realistic. The cost of things have gone up.
Yeah,
People
absolutely.
need to make a living. It is what it is. Like, this is the world we live in. And so when I'm bidding on things, I try to come in a place that is fair for everyone while being respectful of the budget. But a lot of the time, our jobs as the head of a shoot where we are bidding on these jobs are to educate these clients as to what things cost, what goes into them, all of the crew that it takes to make something happen,
Yeah.
and all of the extras, all of the equipment and everything that you need to get in order to make it the best shoot possible. And lately, I've had a few situations where I've been underbid by people who walk in with a camera and they're like, hey, I've been doing this for like 2 days. Let's get this on. And like, I've lost a few jobs to the same person. And there's
Do you know this person?
I don't know them like
Okay.
personally,
Yeah.
but I'm aware of them.
Yeah.
And I know there are people in this industry who are coming in and underbidding all of us and taking the job because the client sees the numbers, but they don't maybe question all the time, well, if this person's charging more, what is it that they're offering me that gives them the ability to charge more?
Yeah.
Instead of, just they make that impulse of like, well, this person came in cheaper, so let's go with them.
Yeah, it's that.
Like, what is it that is cheaper about them? Is it the fact that they don't have the same skills? They're not people person. They're not giving them that same collaborative photo shoot experience.
Yeah.
It's a really tough position to be in lately because this is what's kind of challenging the industry at the moment.
I definitely agree with that. And also, that idea that our rates are also just based, what do they say? Like, I'm asking for this because of my experience. You see a number, but it's based on these years of training, these spaces I've been in, and you're getting that caliber.
For sure. You don't know what goes into this, and we try to be like explain things and try to be as thorough as possible, but sometimes clients just want a number that works for them. They don't
for their budget sheet.
Yeah,
accounting.
They don't always care so much about, well, what is this person bringing to the table that this person might not bring to the table?
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, we've talked so much about mental health every time we've been on set. Yeah. We do check-ins. I mean, even today, Rebecca, like, how's your mind, body, and spirit today in this moment?
Yeah. Great question.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I was always that girl who was like, the glass is half empty. That was my way of living.
Yeah.
I tended to look at the negative side of things. I would spout negative things about like, oh, I didn't get that job. Well, I didn't expect to anyway, or, however that was. But, I'm not going to lie. Like, the last few months have been a struggle for me. I mean, the industry has its ups and downs, and there are struggles even in the good times, and the bad times. Like, it happens. That's life. But we're in a weird place in the industry right now where we're trying to find a normal after COVID.
Yes.
COVID has changed a lot of things in the way the industry is working. We have a political environment this year that has kind of slowed people down from wanting to do much. People are hanging on to their money because the inflation of things has gotten unreasonably high. And there is ultimately just
AI.
more AI.
AI.
Don't even get me started on AI. There's more demand in the sense that, like, oh, we have the same budget as we had before, but we want more
We want
for it.
more.
We want
Yes. We
more.
want way
How
more.
much can you give me for this? We need
Yeah.
1,000 images and at least 6 1-minute videos. And it's
Yeah.
like, but do you even know what it is you're asking for?
I had a bit. I had a client reach out. It was for a makeup brand. It was an e-com shoot, it was a product shoot, and a portrait shoot. And they wanted to do it all in one day. And, you
Sounds
know,
about
for
right.
a very small amount. And about 50, deliverables,
Yep.
50 images. And you're just like,
Yep.
yeah, trying to convey and educate the client of like,
Yep.
that's multiple light setups.
Right.
How many products? Also, what I found sometimes challenging is that clients, or I do a lot of portraits too. So sometimes they're not people familiar with photography or and thinking that they're just paying for the shoot, like the moment
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
shooting. And there's so much more to that.
Before and after.
Yeah, before and after. Or
For
why do
sure.
I get just so many? Like, why only 10
Yeah.
images?
Can't I get all of the
Can't I get them
raws?
all?
Like,
Yeah.
you know, that's, you know, I don't know. I feel like I've been, just to get back to your original question, I've been affected more lately with the industry. I think a lot of it is due to the ups and downs, but also social media.
Oh,
And how
absolutely.
that has, I find myself severely affected by it at some points, where I then just have to turn my phone off and not, because it's like this automatic habit of, you turn your phone on, you go to Instagram, you start swiping. Like, that is the normal. And I hate that is immediately what I go to.
Yeah.
But, you know, seeing this place where people are putting things out there, you're like, wait, I want that job, or how did they get that job? Or, like, I don't want to be asking these questions.
Yeah.
Like, what we need to do for our mental health, and what I'm trying to get better at, is focusing on me and now, and what I can do to get those jobs, and not looking around and seeing who else is doing the jobs, and trying to figure out how to put myself in the best position possible to be the person working. Yeah.
I know we had a while ago, we had a creative sound bath for other photographers, producers, the industry, and you came, and I know it was very different for you.
Yeah.
What are some other experiences or practices you're doing to kind of refocus on yourself and separate from the heaviness and the stress of our industry?
That's a great question. You know, I feel like photography and just being a creative is so ingrained in who I am.
Yeah.
I've been doing it. I mean, I've been shooting since I was young, but I was a violinist most of my youth growing up through college. And, you know, yesterday I kind of joked with my mom. I was like, damn, I should have been that accountant that I always wanted to be. And she's like, please, you never had a bone in your body that wanted to do anything behind a desk. And so, you know, I think that sometimes we get so invested in this thing, something that not only puts food in our plate because we make money from it, but it fills our soul in ways that other things can't. And so sometimes it's hard to find that separation between me and photography and what it is I do. But I realize more so than ever that it's so important to find other things that also keep you going and keep you excited, and so that you don't always have that, oh, I'm not making, you know, photography, I'm not working. The working and the photography, and then the fact that it's also like the thing that fills my soul, all kind of overlap, and they create a very stressful situation, because it's not just the thing that keeps me alive and keeps me paying my bills, but it's also the thing that I love doing. And
well, it's another way of keeping you alive.
Yeah.
It's that that fire, especially for women. Like, you know, our womb, like we for some women, maybe they'll have children, but for some women, we will birth projects, we will birth art, we will birth these amazing things. Like, that is one of the superpowers I believe in. In women, we have the power of creation.
That's what we put out into the world.
Exactly.
That's what's most important to us. And I totally agree. Like, I think the things I've been trying to do this year that have been keeping my head in the right place is starting work on some personal projects.
Okay.
Some like long-term projects that are not for anyone but myself.
Mm-hmm.
And
welcome to Scene.
yes, here we are.
Here
This
we
is one
are.
of them.
I mean, it's my personal project.
Exactly. This is what you're doing. And then, trying to find other things, like I go on long walks and listen to podcasts, or I have in the last few months, I look at everything that I have the skill to do, and I'm like, okay, when the photography industry is slow, what else can I do with my time that still fulfills me? And so I'm currently working on being a colorist for film and motion.
Okay.
Because I do have that background.
You're amazing at coloring. Your colors and your imagery, just like, so when you were in Scene, the exhibition, I come from a fine art background, so seeing that series and hearing that it was inspired by the sunsets, and they're portraits of this amazing model, but the way the styling and the way you color it just hits the mark of like sunsets. It just immediately pops in your head, and yeah, I think I've worked with many people, and I see everybody's aesthetic comes through, but there's just such like I think of soft serve ice cream. I know that sounds crazy,
I love that.
but just like, soft, but the swirl, the softness, but the vibrancy of your colors. So it's amazing to hear that you're exploring this other.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Color grading, and this is a little like PSA for the clients. Post-production is part of the process.
Yes, it is.
I achieve a certain goal while I'm shooting, and I'm not that person who's like, we'll fix it in post. That's not me.
No,
what I'm saying is, when you book a photographer, like when you book me and you see the work on my website, that is all touched by me till the end. And so for me, color grading is really essential part of presenting my work to the world, because it represents me as a person. It represents how I see the images. And obviously I'm in an industry where color accuracy and skin tones are very important. And it's important that I nail that. And so, I find that I have definitely found my calling with the color world when I feel like I've developed my look, let's say, just from playing with it
your
so
palette.
much.
You've developed your palette.
I've developed my palette. And I truly, having been in LA now for 3.5 years, and my partner is in the film industry, and having worked on narrative films with him as well, it's been a really beautiful process learning about motion more, because I'm doing it as well in my own life, but learning about how color can change so much for imagery, for motion, for film. Like so much relies on, the color aspect. And I don't even think people are aware of it when they're watching something. But if you were then to watch it in black and white or with a different color grade, it might have a different impact on you.
I loved those exercises when I was in art school or, studying film and photography, of just how it could be the same composition, but because it's sepia tone or because everything's blue, what do you feel now? I'm definitely someone that's driven by emotion. And
color is emotion.
Color is emotion. Yeah.
For sure. And I find that my color tends to be warm and kind of bright and saturated, because that is the work I want to put out in the world. There are some photographers who keep it kind of cool tone and like kind of a little muddy, but not muddy in a bad way, but like it's their aesthetic and this is my aesthetic. And it's like, whatever we want to put out in the world is how we're doing that. And so learning to be a colorist and seeing how that also changes the motion world has been such a fun process that is still related to what I do and what my experience is in, but it's outside of the photo world. And so it gives me another thing to really focus on, to take my head outside of photography when I'm stressed or when I'm feeling things about it, or if the industry is up and down,
Of course. I think this is a great way to jump into when we did the exhibition and Scene. Most of the photographers that were commercial, brand, editorial photographers, but it was an invitation to do a personal art, series or collection. And one thing I've heard you say multiple times since we've known each other is that you are, at the foundation of it, an artist. And I think that's absolutely beautiful. I have met people who will feel, and I've gone through this tug and pull where we feel like we have to sacrifice or leave one sitting on the bench and to satisfy a project, or where we have to sacrifice our art, or this project's not art, this one's just work. But hearing your love for color and being intentional that you're touching every piece, every part of a project from beginning to end really sings to you saying, I'm an artist.
For sure.
And you recently did a personal project, or you started the body
Body of work,
project.
yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about what sparked that?
For sure. I realized that I think this is a great transition because for so many years, photography was my job.
Yeah.
And whether it be photo assisting, retouching, being a photographer, whatever it was. And I wanted to look at myself as an artist, but I had trouble kind of saying those words because I always associated artists being people who created whatever they wanted, put it up on a wall, and didn't give a shit what anyone thought.
Lies. We care so much.
I know. And I moved here and I met my partner, and he said, "What is life without art?"
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, wow, that is profound. I feel like he looks at his work as art form as well, and looks at it as less of a way to make money and more of an art. And I always looked at it first as a way to make money and then an art form. But I was like, wait a second, I am an artist. This is my passion. I want to use my voice for good in this world. I don't want to just use it to work for clients.
For sure.
And so realizing that above and beyond test shoots, I really wanted to figure out something that I can do with my voice that would kind of fulfill that box for me, of being an artist, of being a creative, of shooting something solely for myself that I wasn't getting paid for, wasn't getting judged. People can judge it, but it's not their work, it's mine. And that's art. It's subjective. It's going to happen. So a little bit about my project. This has been in the works. I've been thinking about it for a couple of years now, but it's called Body of Work. It's Renaissance style inspired portraiture of plus size women. I think I've learned to use my photo skills in a way that helps solve problems or work through situations that I have struggled with in my life, and things that I want to help people with if they're struggling with it.
Absolutely.
And so after a year of thinking about this, I was like, all right, this is the time. Who knows if anyone will help me with this, because it's a passion project.
Yeah.
And I feel like people are stretched so thin these days that I was like, I don't know who's going to be on board. Well, amazingly, so many people jumped onto this project just because they supported the idea and loved the concept so much. And basically, in Renaissance style paintings and art, most paintings up until this day, there are a lot of symbolism and color symbolism. Here goes the color again. Things that you would see in a painting with, let's say, a curvy woman that would symbolize fertility, wealth, health, all these things. And so with our world being the way it is now, and these beauty standards kind of skewed in so many different ways, and also to a degree of them being male dominated, with men kind of deciding what women should look like, or women changing themselves based on what they think men want. I decided to create a series of plus size women who were going to be put in a set that was built for them based on my conversations with them. I understand the struggles they have dealt with in the years of modeling or being in the industry as a plus size woman, because I am plus size. I have dealt with being bullied for most of my life and have kind of been ashamed of myself for
Yeah.
so many years. And I've seen that working with models through the decade I've been working with them. This is an issue we're dealing with so much now. You know, a
Absolutely.
few years ago, everyone was starting that movement of body inclusivity and including plus size women and more commercial advertising, runways. And in the last year or two, we've really gone backwards in a way. And now all I'm getting for the ads for the last 2 years have been Ozempic and other weight loss drugs, lose this, lose that. You know, it's like a never ending process. And so I cast a few different women who I put a casting call out there. I got a lot of submissions. I went through and kind of picked women who I chatted with a bunch of them to kind of figure out where they were mentally with their stories and their bodies and their experiences, and cast a few. We shot 2 already.
Okay.
Looking to hopefully shoot 4 total, at least for the initial project.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's personal projects are always fun because they're self-funded.
Yeah.
And so
Cue the sarcasm.
I know, right? The first 2 women we shot, I had a team of 20 people who all signed on to do this for free, who were working towards this idea, who wanted to see this and knew that it would become something. I couldn't even believe the support that I had received from this. It was insane. I was so honored that so many women were there. It was an all-female crew.
Okay.
I wanted to make it a comfortable environment because the models who we were shooting were going to be nude and wanted them to be comfortable. I wanted everyone on set to feel comfortable. And the set designer and I, Dom, concepted their sets to be built based on the models that we were working with.
Great.
And so currently I have those 2 parts retouched, and I'm actually going to be color grading the 2 videos that go along with those, the 2 little motion segments this week. And at this point, I was hoping to have it all done and launched sometime this year, but it's something I don't want to really rush into. And I want to make sure that we have the right funding and everything we need to make it the best it could be. And so I'm starting to apply for grants and other things that could possibly start putting this project out there now.
Absolutely.
Because it is very relevant and current to the world we are in. But then eventually, once the project is done, I would love to have a gallery show or a publication show the work, or having maybe even a written segment with it so that people can understand the women and their stories outside of just being represented in these images.
This is beautiful, and it speaks volumes to, we all have these ideas at times, and sometimes they feel so massive to take on, and then putting it out there, you're just like it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage. I mean, even for me, we did scene, what was that, 22 or 23? I can't remember.
That was 22.
22, right?
Yeah.
The exhibition. And even then we talked about some iteration of this happening.
Yes, we did.
And now it's 2024 and it's happening. But it takes time. It takes courage. It takes a lot of personal work to feel. Right now, the word that popped in my mind was self-worth, like worthy, but relating it to personal projects, like it's a huge investment. There's
in yourself,
and also like look at what we have here, and it takes flowers, every little thing.
I feel like it happens when you're ready for it to happen.
Yes.
Like I don't know if I was in a place to be ready to start such a large scale project before this year.
Yeah.
I won't say it's been all positive.
No,
because,
of course,
yeah, girl, you know this.
Yes.
I mean, this concept has been in my head for so long, and I was scared to put it out there because of how people would react. And now I've put it out there, and I've gotten amazing people to support this. And then literally right after we finished shooting it, I was like, oh my God, was that the worst thing we've ever done? Like, how are we going to do it? Like, how am I good enough for this? Am I this? Like, you literally go into like the 7 stages of grief.
I mean, yes.
And you're like, wait, how am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Am I the right person for this? Like, I didn't look at the images for like a month after the shoot because you kind of sometimes go through these times of ups and downs where you're questioning who you are and what it is you're doing and if what you're saying is valid and if people are going to want to hear it.
Yes.
And after months and months of just sitting on them, I was like, all right, something has to happen. And now that I'm back in it and have the images to show for it, and we all look at our own projects as like, I don't know, is it good enough? But when other people look at it, like whoever I've showed it to so far has had such beautiful reactions that I'm like, okay, maybe I'm making a big deal of it when it really wasn't a huge deal.
We're just humans. We're humans. Humans are wired for human connection and we need affirmations. We need validation. It's not us being needy or it's actually just our innate,
we're just thoughtful. Like some of us are just very thoughtful in the sense that we have to work through everything to make it acceptable for us and what our standards are. I tend to have that kind of perfectionist way of looking at things. If it's not going to be perfect, why do it at all? And that's something that I'm ridding myself of because is art ever truly perfect?
Or for me, I think since I moved back, we've been back in LA, or we've been both in LA around the same time. I remember that was like a common thread between us. And for me, that definitely a little bit of perfectionism, but becoming a mother helped me kind of tackle that one a little bit harshly.
Imagine.
But you kind of brought it up earlier, the monetary. If it's not putting money, I'm going to repeat a phrase that I've heard, especially from my parents, out of their own parental fears. But if it's not putting money in your pocket, why are you doing it? And I think as an artist, that's in this day and age right now with our economy and socially, it's just, we have found something that makes our fucking hearts sing and we feel alive. But it's been really, there's been a lot of things shifting and when you're a creative person and you have just this energy that needs to come out, but you also have to provide, you have to sustain yourself, that is almost the negative statement that repeats itself. It's not putting money in your pocket. Why do it? So when you do these personal projects, that's why I say it takes courage, because you're gambling on yourself. But also I'm big, especially being a woman, and we can talk about this next, intuition, following our gut instinct. And I will give myself that affirmation that I'm where I am because of following my gut and following my intuition and letting the wind guide me. And I mean that both like in a literal, but also in like, in a whimsical way. But no, just really.
That's all we can do.
Exactly. Allowing my body or somatically to tell me, like, I love working with Rebecca Grant. I want to be on set with her more. And that's our birthright, our intuition, especially as women, to guide ourselves with how we feel.
Right. I don't want to pull out an LA word right now, but I'm just going to say manifestation. Like, I am no pro at this, guys. Like, I am new to this whole thing, but I find that I tend to be in a better mood if I say positive things out loud, even if I'm not feeling positive or I'm feeling like, I didn't get that job. Well, instead of saying that, which I was always, more negative, and I would say more negative things. I say, well, hopefully I'll get that job. And if I don't, there'll be another one that comes along. Like, it's just also, I'm learning the right ways of talking to myself.
Absolutely.
And kind of being kind to myself, because we win some, we lose some. It's not always going to be perfect.
No.
And I'm trying to rid that habit from me, because it was something that's just been ingrained in who I am.
Absolutely.
The way my parents raised me, the way I've kind of always looked at playing the violin or being in photography, we went to school for it, we got graded for it.
Yeah.
Like, if we weren't an A, it was just like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
always had a system of, if we're not being
Quantifying, quality.
Yes.
And
money or grades
yeah.
or
You have to get something in return to validate this effort.
and that's not something we should need. Like, that is the thing with starting your own projects and doing things like this,
Yes.
which you have been manifesting for yourself for 2 years, or things like my personal project which I've also been working on for so long. It's like, these are the things that you are not making money for. You are not putting it out there in the world to get a grade, to make money, to have someone tell you you're valid. These are things that you solely just want to put out in the world, and whatever happens with it happens.
Yeah.
And there's no perfect.
No, and to me, the way I simplify it, because there was a shift in my spirituality when it wasn't always accessible to everybody that I was talking to. It was very woo-woo, that was like, or taboo. But my spirituality really shifted when I started integrating science or just like research. And circling back to, you mentioned speaking better to yourself, and like, you feel more better when you say something positive. And science has shown that actually an actress I was talking to, we were explaining about mental health within the acting industry, about our mind, our brain does not have the capacity to differentiate between true or false, reality or fake. Right. So the lack of mental health support that actors sometimes receive when they're doing a very traumatic role, because they're living it, they're putting it in their body, they're saying words, and the brain is just processing, this is my reality. And then you're doing it take after take after take.
That's a lot.
It does a lot on you. Same thing to just the average person just living their life. If we keep, I believe in the power, and I'm not saying this to say like I'm great at it. It's always a work in progress, but it is a mindset thing of like how we speak to ourselves. If we change it, and sometimes it takes so much energy and effort to change negative talk into positive talk.
A lot.
But it's shown
energy.
that it's just putting it. It helps. It helps us see things differently. It helps us feel differently. That's why it's all dopamine. We break it down.
It's also just surrounding yourself with the people that feed that energy.
Yes.
And I've created, after I learned that you can kind of create the life that you want for yourself to a degree, I came into this city creating that life, surrounding myself with the people that help me with those positive changes.
For sure.
My agent has been a big part of this talking positively, because every time I do say something negatively, she points it out. And I don't even realize it half the time.
Being a mirror to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a hard thing to look at yourself in the mirror sometimes and think, oh, wow, like this is ingrained. Like it has been a few decades I've been speaking negatively to myself.
Yeah.
And unless someone sometimes points it at you or says that's negative or makes you aware of what it is your words are doing, sometimes you don't even notice it. And it takes an active change, an active realization of yourself to really make those adjustments in your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As we get ready to wind down our conversation, and like this has been absolutely beautiful, and I feel tingly, and just like I love I love talking mental health with you. I know we both have histories with depression and anxiety, and it's great to have a safe space to kind of vocalize how we're both navigating that in different ways. Are there any like last parting words that you want to share with the community, or with maybe your younger self that she might be out there considering this career, and that you want to let her know?
I feel like so much of it, I'm just going to kind of sum up some things we were talking about, but we all have control of our fate. I know that we can't control the election. We can't control what money we're making all the time. And we can't, but we can, and you have the control of being a part of making those changes. Like, yeah, we can't control who wins the election, but we can control how we talk to people about it,
Yeah.
how we're putting it out in the world. We can't control what jobs we get or we don't, but we can put our best foot forward in every opportunity given. And just realizing that even though it sometimes feels like you can't win, or there are people who will do it better or for cheaper or whatever, you're still a valid person with your own unique perspective that you can bring to the table. And if someone doesn't notice that, someone else will.
Definitely.
And just trying not to give up on that for yourself.
And keep putting yourself out there.
And keep putting yourself out there, because it's not overnight.
No.
And like this, it takes a thick skin to do this job and to keep pushing and not give up and not get down on yourself. And I'm not saying it's always going to be perfect, because it isn't. But if you love it enough and you care enough about what you do and what you put out into the world, then keep pushing, because that's all we can do.
Oh. Rebecca, thank you so much. You're definitely a great role model about keep pushing. I know things have been ups and downs in the years that we've known each other, but the other thing I do want to just give you your flowers is that you've always been an amazing friend to celebrate the wins with and the milestones. It's always such a, especially with Brooks there, when we have the team together,
the girls are back.
Yeah, and it's just cultivating that space of like, we're all winning together, but also checking in. Like you're great, especially on set when we all come on set.
Find your community.
Yeah, checking in on all of us.
Like sometimes, you know, we each have our own lives going on, and we are not always the best at meeting up as often as I would like,
especially in LA.
Yes,
like,
girl.
where you at? West Side? Nah.
Yeah, screw that. Okay. But surround yourself with the people who will lift you up.
Yeah.
And that is the best advice I can give, because nothing we do in this world is as like an individual. No set we're ever on is just us. Even just here, we have this whole crew who is here to make this dream happen because they believe in you. They believe in this mission. And these are people who are lifting you up, just like I'm here to lift you up and you're here to lift me up.
You're making me cry right now.
Girl, don't make me cry.
I was doing my makeup to come to set, and I actually had that thought, and I want to shout out my team. I literally, I had the thought of, this is such a personal project that, thank you. It means the world to me that I think, as my therapist would say, adult Nalani, now Nalani, was talking to little Nalani.
Yeah.
And told her your ideas are worth. Yeah. They have value. They stand, because look, you pitched the idea, you gave the concept, and there's people that are saying, let's fucking go, let's do it.
Let's do it.
And not just there, asking you and everyone else to be guests and just say,
like, sign me up.
Yeah, like that speaks.
Those are the people you have to keep close.
Exactly. And
These
the
are
faith.
Yeah, you have to keep the faith. You have to keep pushing. And there will be people who will rally on your side to make it happen. So keep pushing, girl.
Yay!
I love you, Nalani.
I love you, Rebecca. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
This is the first of many. I'm excited to continue cheering you on, and can't wait to be on set with you again.
Yes, I can't wait.
That's a wrap.
Woo!